Alright, so in this video, our goal is going to be to prove the theorem that I have put on the screen, which is basically giving you a necessary and sufficient condition for a certain special class of series to converge. Okay, specifically we are going to be interested in series where if you look at the summands are non-negative and they are decreasing. So specifically you can see that that's part of the statement of the theorem. So a1 greater than equal to a2 greater than equal to a3 and so on. So which means that ak is always greater than or equal to ak plus 1 for all k, right? And they are all non-negative, right? So the summands are, once again, they are non-negative and they are monotone decreasing. Okay, in this special case, the series summation an converges if and only if another series converges. And what is that series? That is this one, summation 2 raised to k a 2 raised to k. Okay, so I mean, to unwrap that, I mean, in this case, just for convenience, I am writing this from k equals 0 to infinity. It doesn't matter whether you write it as 1 to infinity or 0 to infinity. It doesn't really change the convergence or divergence of the series. But if I write it from 0 to infinity, then k equals 0 corresponds to the term a1, k equals 1 corresponds to the term 2 times a2, k equals 3 corresponds to the term k equals 1 corresponds to the term 2a2, k equals 2 corresponds to the term 4a4, the next one would correspond to 8a8, 16a16 and so on, right? Those are the summands involved in the latter series. And what we have said is that if you are dealing with a series where the summands are non-negative and decreasing, then the convergence of the series is equivalent to the convergence of this alternative series, where I'm doing summation 2 raised to k a 2 raised to k. So in this latter series, it's only exponentially spaced summands of the original series that are showing up, but they are showing up with this additional multiplicative factor of 2 raised to k multiplying them. Okay, so it's a it's a funny looking theorem, but we will see how some very interesting consequences can be obtained from this theorem. Okay, but before that, we first look at the proof. Okay, so the proof is in fact going to be very straightforward. I'm just going to define the running sums of the two series in the first place, right? Remember, both of these series involve non-negative summands. Okay, so convergence is equivalent to saying that the running sums are bounded from above. If the running sums grow unboundedly, then both of these series tend to have the limit infinity, right? So I'm just going to define the running sums in both cases. In one case, Sn is just summation from 1 through n of ai, right? This is just a1 plus a2 all the way up to an, right? And in the running sums of the other guy, I'm going to call it as tk. Tk is the summation from 0 to k of, well, 2 raised to k a 2 raised to k, right? Which is going to be equal to a1 plus, well, 2 times a2 plus 4 times a4 all the way up to 2 raised to k a 2 raised to k. All right. So these are the two running sums. So to prove the result, it suffices to show that if Sn is bounded from above, then Tk is bounded from above. If Tk is bounded from above, then Sn is bounded from above. So if I can show that so this is a sequence of running sums in n, this is a sequence of running sums in k. If I could argue that both of these sequences are either bounded from above or both of these sequences are unbounded from above, then the job is done, right? That would imply that the convergence of Sn is equivalent to the convergence of Tk as k goes to infinity. Okay, so we just have to argue that both of these sequences, Sn and Tk, either both of them are bounded from above or both of them are unbounded from above, right? So therefore the convergence of these two sequences is tied. Okay, so here is how we will do it. So I'm going to basically write, I'm going to be able to bound Sn in terms of Tk from above. I'm going to be able to bound Tk from above in terms of Sn suitably. Okay, so suppose that n is less than 2 raised to k. Okay, in this case we can write Sn and bound it from above as follows. Okay, so Sn, remember n is less than equal to 2 raised to k, so I can just write this as a1 plus a2 plus a3 plus, well, I'll write one more term, a4 plus a5 plus a6 plus a7 all the way up to a2 raised to k all the way up to a2 raised to k plus 1 minus 1. Right, I've introduced some additional terms in this because n is less than 2 raised to k, and I've gone all the way up to 2 raised to k plus 1 minus 1. So that's okay. I've just added a bunch of non-negative terms, so the upper bound still holds. Right, now is where I'm going to use the fact that these ai's are decreasing. This is further upper bounded by a1 plus, well, 2 times a2. Right, the second term a2 plus a3 is at most 2 times a2. The third term is at most 4 times a4, and all the way up to the last one, which is at most, well, how many terms do I have in my last bracket? I have exactly 2 raised to k terms. So 2 raised to k times a 2 raised to k, okay, which is in fact tk. Okay, so the first part of our claim is that if n is in fact less than 2 raised to k, Sn is upper bounded by tk, which means that what? It means that if my tk sequence is bounded from above, then the Sn sequence also has to be bounded from above, because for every n, the Sn sequence can be bounded for some other suitable k by some entry of the tk sequence. So if the tk sequence is bounded from above, then the Sn sequence is also bounded from above. Okay. Now let's go through the other side. Suppose I say that n is greater than 2 raised to k. Okay, so again I start off with Sn, but now I bound it as follows. Okay, it's going to be a1 plus a2 plus a3 plus a4 plus all the way up to a2 raised to k minus 1 plus 1 all the way up to a2 raised to k. Remember, n is greater than 2 raised to k. All I have done is written the terms up to 2 raised to k. So that's a lower bound, and I have bracketed them differently from last time. Okay, so I'm going to further write this as, let's say a1 by 2 plus a2 plus 2a4 all the way up to, well, if you stare at the last bracket, there are 2 raised to k minus 1 terms in that times ak. Right, no, now I want to bound from below, so which means in every bracket, in the earlier case, in every bracket I bounded in terms of the first term of the bracket, which gives me an upper bound. Here I'm bounding in terms of the last term in the bracket, which is why I'm getting a lower bound, right? Which with, one round of staring tells you that this is in fact tk by 2. Okay, so again, for n greater than 2 raised to k, Sn is greater than or equal to half times tk. Okay, so again, what does this tell you? Well, it tells you that if the Sn sequence is, so the first part of this calculation told you that if the tk sequence is bounded, the sequence of running sums involved in the second series that we are concerned about, if the tk series sequence is bounded, then the Sn sequence is also bounded. The second calculation tells you that if the if the Sn sequence is bounded, then the tk sequence is bounded, right? So we are bounded. So what that means is that the sequence Sn and tk are both bounded or both unbounded. That completes the proof, right? Because what is, after all, this part of the hypothesis? This part of the hypothesis is that the tk sequence, the latter series there, converges if and only if the tk sequence converges. The former series converges if and only if the Sn sequence converges. And well, these two converge and diverge together, right? So which means that summation an converges if and only if summation 2 raised to k a2 raised to k converges. Okay, so that is another useful test for convergence of series. particularly when we are dealing with series that have this structure, that the summands are all non-negative and they are decreasing, right? In that case, we can use this. So as an immediate application of this, let us actually prove the following statement, which implies the statement I had told you before, that summation 1 by n in fact diverges, right? So let's say theorem summation 1 by n raised to p converges for p in I think I'm for p greater than 1 and diverges for p between 0 and 1 including 1. Okay, so in particular, if p equals 1 corresponds to summation 1 by n. So what we are claiming is that if you look at summation 1 by n raised to p, for p greater than 1, it converges. So for example, summation 1 by n square converges, summation 1 by n cube converges, but so does summation 1 by n raised to 1.001, right? However, it diverges for all p which is positive and less than equal to 1. So summation 1 by n diverges, so does summation 1 by n raised to 0.9, so does summation 1 by n raised to 0.01, right? All of those guys diverge. So how do we go about proving this? The proof is basically just going to be one line. Well, we know that the convergence, so 1 by n raised to p, if you look at this as a sequence in n, it is non-negative and decreases with n. Okay, so therefore the previous theorem applies, and so the convergence on or divergence of these series is in fact tied to the convergence or divergence of this alternative series, where I'm looking at summation 2 raised to k 1 by, well, n has to be replaced by 2 raised to k, so 2 raised to k times p raised to p, right, which is in fact summation 2 raised to k times 1 minus p, right? This fellow clearly converges for p greater than 1, because then it becomes a geometric sum, right? If p is greater than 1, 1 minus p is less than 0, and so you're looking at summation 2 raised to k times something less than 0. That's a convergent geometric series, and it diverges for p between 0 and 1 included, right? And that in fact completes our proof, right? From the previous theorem, it completes our proof, right? So therefore, if you look at summation 1 by n raised to p, it converges for p greater than 1, but diverges for p between 0 and 1 included. Okay, so this settles one of the claims that I had made before, that I claimed to illustrate a couple of different phenomena that 1 by n summation diverges, and well, we just proved that formally. Okay, so we will stop here. What we will do in the next video, which will be next week, will be we will look at further tests for convergence of series, and we will also, so now that we have built the theory of series, we will be able to formally define this number e that we are all familiar with, but we will be able to formally define this number and understand some of its properties. Okay, so all that comes next week.